come with me to Europe for the very first time. Some of you might be wondering why I'm so excited. But firstly, let me just tell you and give you a backstory. So, I've never been to Europe in my life, and I'm over 30. I'm not gonna give more than that, of course. So, this is a big deal for me because, I've never been to Europe. I've traveled. I travel. I've never been to Europe. I've never been to Asia either. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm going to Europe for the very first time in my life. And it is very exciting. Not only am I just going to Europe, I'm visiting a couple of countries. So I'm going to Netherlands, England, Scotland, and Belgium. And I'm taking you with me so that you can understand and appreciate this experience I'm going to have for the very first time in my life. Words cannot begin to describe how excited I am because, finally the trip is happening. Yeah, I mean it, finally. This trip nearly didn't happen. Well, it didn't happen last year, and one of the reasons that it didn't happen is because we had a family member that was very ill and in intensive care unit. So we canned the trip last year, and then we decided that we're gonna go this year. And we nearly also didn't go this year because at random people started getting sick. We were sick. We were hospitalized. My kids were sick. Like very close family members were getting sick. And it nearly didn't happen. It could have been another postponement, but this time we decided that no, we're gonna do it. And luckily, the odds were in our favor, as the people that were sick in hospital then recovered. But there was just like some events that were happening that were just like off, right? But this time we went to Europe. We did it! But you will never believe what we had to go through in order to get on that plane. Like, it was not the smoothest trip, but it was all worth it. And because I've got hindsight, now I can say that. So we got our visas 4 days before departure because of poor planning and also because there was just, like I said, a series of weird events happening. And even though we knew we were traveling somehow, we still wanted to exercise working under pressure. And like pressure produces diamonds. Yeah. So here we are. On the day that we got our visas, we then booked our flights and accommodations. We didn't use any agency. We did it on our own Google and researched the places beforehand. And we made our bookings ourselves directly with the airline and also the accommodation place. So just to give you perspective, we left Johannesburg in the evening at about 11 p.m. And on the way, I was just so nervous, like just wrapping my head around the fact that this long awaited trip is finally happening was just a bit of an out of body experience. In as much as I knew we were going, I just didn't know that we were going. There was just a lot of uncertainty. And just before check-in, like we're sitting there at the check-in, not like at the check-in counter where you go in to finally board on the plane. And there's like more than 100 people that are sitting there. And my husband casually asks me, "Are you ready for Europe?" And then I look at him and like, "Ready or not, I'm coming, I'm going. We're going, babe, we're going, we're going, we're going." But the body and the mind had their own agenda. So as he asked that question, I started getting a fever, which felt like a headache. I started feeling hot and cold at the same time. And imagine this, it was cold in Johannesburg as it's winter in South Africa. And we were dressed for the winter. That was. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but no, I'm not. I was so nervous. My mouth started filling with water and I started feeling bilious. And as I was looking for the nearest toilet amongst these many people that are standing and queuing to get into the aircraft, I saw a bin. And it was the closest thing that I could run to. And I went to the bin, and me and the bin bonded like old friends who had a lot to share. Not only did the bin know what I ate for lunch, um, I'm sure it could sense how nervous I really was for this trip. And fortunately, I've got like a very funny husband, and we just laughed at this encounter. He's like, "You can't believe that." Like, he was like, "I don't understand. Are you that nervous? Like, I mean, you've been on a flight." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't understand. I've been on a flight, but I've never been to Europe. I've never been to Europe." I mean, I'm the first person in my family or lineage to ever go to Europe. It might not be big for you or other people, but it's a big deal for me. It's a big deal for me. So last year when we were traveling, I had done a lot of research about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to eat. I had it all to the T, right? And I planned and I over planned, and that resulted in me having nightmares for days on end. It was either the plane had left me, or I was lost at the airport, or I got off the flight and there was just the nightmares I had were just so crazy. So this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'm not gonna let my mind influence or research influence anything that I'm going to do on this trip. I'm not going to research. I'm just going to go and just be like a girlfriend and have fun. I mean, I was traveling with somebody who's already been to Europe. I mean, it's not such a big deal, right? Right. Until you have to take somebody who's never been there and they just looking at everything in like amazement and just looking at things and just like mesmerized by everything and how they're feeling. So this might not be a generational curse that you or somebody else is thinking of breaking for their lineage, but this for me is a generational curse that I'm breaking for my family. And my ancestors must be looking at me with such happiness that I'm able to go see the world and do the things that I've always wanted to do from when I was growing up. I knew I wanted to experience this, but I just didn't know that it would come with the repercussions that it came with or the feelings that it came with. So more than anything, the excitement is just real to be something that I mentioned. So the other thing that I noticed with the wheelchair assistance is that we've also used that service here at home at OR Tambo and King Shaka Airport. And it was quite different from how it was done at Heathrow. So when we are when we got to Heathrow and he was on the wheelchair, we just took the wheelchair and used it as our and used it. And then when we were finished, I wanted to take it back, and one of the guys who was at the parking lot who works there just told me where to put it so that people who want to access the wheelchairs can easily find them, even for somebody who's inside the parking lot who's going to collect somebody that needs a wheelchair is able to get it there. Um, so the different thing with when we were traveling in South Africa and when we were there is that here at home we had to have like there was somebody, a security guard who was dedicated to that wheelchair and assisted us pushing the person who needed assistance, and then they had to wait until we got onto the transport or however released the wheelchair back to them for them to take the wheelchair. And they waited with us when we were waiting for an Uber for us to give them the wheelchair back. So now at Heathrow, we get this wheelchair, we are pushing it ourselves, there's nobody following us, and nobody's is checking if we are going to return this wheelchair. So this was my first aha moment to say, I need to return this wheelchair because I don't want it to get lost. That moment for me was a big aha moment because nobody checked if we returned the wheelchair, but we returned it anyway, you know? It's the principle, it's not mine, it doesn't belong to me. Why should I keep it? That was my first aha moment. And you'll see how it ties up to all the other things that were just like big aha moments for me that are seemingly normal for people who live in Europe. Lucky us, we had our friend waiting at the airport for us, and we drove home to his place. And apparently, it's summer. Yeah, they told us it's summer. We are chasing summer in Europe. All those Instagram hashtags. What a joke it was. Like, it was a joke. Like, it's summer. I mean, their summer is like our winter, but apparently it's summer. I was not understanding all of that. Apparently, summer here lasts for only 2 weeks, and we just arrived when it ended. It ended about apparently 3 days before we landed. Nobody told us, but anyway, it's summer. It's summer. I need to have a summer spirit. Okay. So on the other side, everything was just a wow moment for me. I mean, I'm getting out of the airport and I'm getting to experience. I literally felt like a puppy or a small child that was just looking out of the window and appreciating each and everything that I was seeing. I was appreciating the cleanliness. I even went to the public bathroom so that I can just see the public bathrooms, how different the public bathrooms we have here at home are and how different they are to what the public bathrooms look like on the other side of the world. And one of the first impressions that I had when we left the airport and we got into town, it was gloomy. Like you'll see, Luena, like you can see, it was gloomy. And our friend was not wearing a jacket, but a short sleeve T-shirt. And he said he wasn't feeling cold. And he offered us a cold drink. I'm like, no, it's cold. If there's one thing about me is that I don't compromise when it comes to feeling cold. I'd rather feel very hot than feel cold. Being cold makes me very, very uncomfortable. So I opted to keep my winter jacket on because this summer was just not make sure. Like, no, 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 no. It was not the summer that I know. But I'm adapting. I don't want to seem like I don't know things. I'm like, no, I'm just feeling a little nippy today, so I'm not gonna have the cold drink. So I just felt like a curious kid. I asked all types of questions and looked at all the details of how things were, and it finally dawned on me that the shows that we watch or the shows that I used to watch were set in the UK, and I've seen some of how the places looked like. And one of the shows was called Footballers' Wives, and I think it used to play on ETV back in the days. And I mean, all those memories, the houses that I used to see, it all came back, and it looks more or less like it looked in that series, the Footballers' Wives. And I was just mesmerized, guys. Everything was just wow. I saw a lot of cars that we don't have in South Africa. The reason being that they're electric cars. And we are, as we know, if you're from South Africa, you visited South Africa, you know that we are very, very far away from having electric powered cars. Some people might have them, but I'm not sure if they are convenient for people who live in South Africa at the moment due to our struggles with electricity. And an electric car feels so nice. I went onto one in an Uber for the first time, and yeah, interesting. So bear with me as I'm mesmerized by what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through. It's a lot, but it's not a lot. Yeah.